Greetings and welcome. My name is Anita and I am your Sherpa. This is the Storytelling Sherpa. My voice, my journey, my lane. No agenda, no outcomes, just the transmission or transmission of presence from body to body. Welcome to episode 5. And right now, something feels different in the world as I'm recording episode 5. Maybe you're feeling it too. There's this strange tension in the air, like we're standing on the edge of something, not quite falling, not quite stable, just on the edge. The world feels faster, louder, more reactive, with much more noise and chaos. Narratives everywhere, opinions everywhere, solutions everywhere, and spiritual bypassing, a lot of it. Everyone telling us what's happening, everyone telling us what to do, everyone commentating on others and not looking at themselves. Yet, very few people are asking the deeper question. What is happening inside the human nervous system right now? Because beneath the politics, beneath economics, beneath collapsing structures, there's something much more intimate unfolding. Humans are being pressure tested, not intellectually, biologically, emotionally, through the nervous system itself. So we are standing on a precipice, whether you're feeling it or not. This is when systems start shaking. Humanity usually responds in the same way. We rush to build quick solutions, quick leaders, quick answers. And it's usually the ones who create the chaos, who create the problem that bring the solution. All we want as a human collective is stability again. We want the ground to feel solid beneath our feet. And that instinct makes sense. But here's something I've been reflecting on. Sometimes rebuilding too quickly recreates the very structure that just collapsed. Same architecture, different paint. And history shows this pattern again and again. A crisis appears. Oh no! Fear arises. Oh yes! As they shout. Urgent solutions are offered. And these urgent solutions have been in the works for many a millennia. And here is something I prepared a little bit earlier for you. That's the pattern, if you can see it. And before anyone has really pushed long enough to ask deeper questions, the same system quietly re-enters through a different door. That's why sometimes the most powerful word after collapse is an action. Sometimes it's simply no. And for those of you who said no in COVID, we are going to be asked to say no again. No to rushed answers, no to fear-driven compliance, no to rebuilding something we haven't fully understood yet. And saying no doesn't mean rebellion. It means discernment. It means we're willing to sit in a gap a little longer. We're willing to sit in the discomfort, the uncomfortable, hot mess. That's the juiciness. And the real battlefield, most people are thinking collapse is political or economic. But if you look a little closer, something else becomes obvious. Collapse is actually a stress test on the human nervous system. Look at all the fear, all the urgency, all the information overload, the overstimulation, the pressure to choose sides quickly. All of it triggers the same biological responses: fight, flight, freeze, or submit. Are there any other options? And this is where we create that additional option. And a dysregulated nervous system is extremely easy to influence. Yet, a regulated nervous system, a calm one, a grounded one, one that is embodied in discernment, that is incredibly difficult to manipulate. And that might be the quiet revolution we're standing inside right now. Not louder voices, not stronger opinions, but steadier bodies. I had a dream many years ago and it stayed with me, never really leaving me, yet now it's making more and more sense. In the dream, there were two worlds existing side by side. One was grey, completely grey. The buildings, the streets, the atmosphere, everything carried this strange, muted tone. It looked orderly, structured, controlled. At first glance, it almost seemed stable, but something about it felt lifeless, like the life had been drained out of the system. It felt a little like walking through a very organized asylum. And I was standing at the doors and I could see the sliding doors opening and closing. And to the left of me was this grey world. And to the right of me was this lush green. All I remember is the green and the colour. Everything was working as normal, side by side. But something essential was missing. And there, along the other side, the other world. A world full of colour, movement, creativity, predictability, humanity. It wasn't as controlled. It wasn't as neat. But it was alive. And when I woke up, what stayed with me wasn't the visuals. It was the feeling. The grey world felt efficient. The colour world felt human. And that's where we are. That's the precipice that we are currently at. In what world does our mind want to create which reality? And the two will coexist side by side as they did in my dream. And we still will be able to access it. The ones living in the colourful world will still be able to access the sliding doors with the grey asylum looking and feeling, because in my dream, I was standing there with someone and we were going to visit a friend. The choice most people don't see. What stuck with me later is that the difference between those two worlds wasn't technology. It wasn't wealth. It wasn't intelligence. The difference was the state of the nervous system living inside them. In the grey world, humans had outsourced too much of their inner authority. In the colour world, people still trusted something within themselves, even if it didn't make sense. Their bodies, their instincts, their rhythm, all of it. And the interesting thing about timeline choices is that they rarely happen in dramatic moments. They happen in tiny decisions, micro decisions. Do I react or pause? Do I panic or breathe? Do I rush or observe a little longer? Those small moments quietly shape the trajectory of the world we're building. Even knowing the conglomerates of the bigger corporations, I'm not going to name any, and what they're feeding and what's behind them, and how they're all a little chain in the bigger chain, right? One small step. When I found out many years ago, back in 2020, when all of this started to come through, and I saw my bank, who I'm no longer with that bank, and I'm not going to mention them, when I saw a slice of pizza on their logo, I knew it was time to switch banks. And they're all the same at the end of the day. But I switched banks. So they're the little micro decisions, the little micro actions where we can boycott. People do not realize that you can cancel subscriptions that feed the bigger beast. You have the power. If you didn't hold the power, why do you think they are trying to overstimulate your nervous system, corrupt it, destroy your bodies through all the food, through everything? Why do you think they are trying to disempower you when you are the one who has the power? So think about it. Reflect on it. You're aware of everything that's going in the world. Make those little micro decisions and say, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not watching that. I am cancelling this. Have an awareness, have a discernment, and take accountability. Collapse is not new. Human history is full of these turning points. Empires fall, markets crash, systems fracture, then something new emerges, and there's usually a repeating pattern. Centralization, pressure, crisis, a solution. Sound familiar? Then power consolidates again. We've seen this cycle over and over again. But what may be different now is that more people can see the pattern while it's happening. And when people can see the pattern, they start asking different questions. And this is where you make your choices. During uncertain times, something interesting happens psychologically. People dream more vividly. Intuition feels stronger. The mind starts scanning for patterns. I don't know about any of you, but my dream space has been nuts lately. Showing me timelines, rehearsing, practicing, even some of the shadow work. They are getting much stronger and more vivid. And for me, a lot of my dreams, it's been a lot around the mother and the father lineages, and also my nervous system preparing for what is around the corner. From a neuroscience perspective, the brain is simply trying to predict possible futures. That's why it rehearses it in our dream state. It's running simulations, trying to make sense of uncertainty. Dreams become a rehearsal space, a place where the psyche explores different outcomes. And it also shows you your multiple dimensional self in different timelines playing out of what did not occur in this timeline that is still playing out in another timeline with certain individuals who are no longer in your life, but in that timeline, they are in your life. So when people experience powerful dreams during these times, it doesn't necessarily mean something mystical is happening. Sometimes it simply means the human system is trying to navigate complexity, trying to understand where things might lead. The whole time I'm talking, I keep burping. So there's the truth coming out. Little micro burps. Have to share it with you. Got to keep it all real. The preparation that no one is talking about right now. Most people prepare for uncertain futures externally, stockpiling resources, making strategic plans, trying to predict what will happen. But maybe the deeper preparation is internal. Preparing the nervous system itself, learning how to stay present when pressure rises, learning how to breathe when fear spikes, learning how to think clearly when everyone around you is reacting, learning how to read the lies when they tell you we're running out of something. How does your body respond? Because the humans who can remain steady when everything else is shaking are often the ones who quietly influence what happens next. And there is a quiet rebellion taking place inside within you. Real sovereignty isn't loud. It's not performative. It's not dramatic. It's coherence, a steady body, a clear mind. A refusal to surrender inner authority to panic on pressure. And this is why they apply the pressure, the stress, so you can give away your inner authority. And that's how they disempower you. Don't forget, you are the powerful source. You're like a battery, right? And you just keep charging and you're more powerful. So why would they not want to feed off that? And when enough people operate from that place, something interesting begins to happen. Oh man, my whole body, my solar plexus is like, structures start shifting, not through force, but through collective stability. The pattern beneath the pattern emerges, and we get to see it. Sometimes when systems collapse, people start looking for patterns. And when humans start seeing patterns, a lot of different theories surface. Some people talk about forgotten civilizations. Some point to ancient empires, hidden histories, Tartarian architecture, or lost knowledge that might have existed long before the systems we know today. And our body is a system that is connected to all these systems that we do not know about. Others look at what they call myths of Atlantis and wonder where previous advanced societies also reached turning points like this, moments where technology moved faster than human wisdom. And then there are those who say every collapse in history has quietly reshaped power structures behind the scenes. Now, I'm not here to tell you what's true and what isn't, for that is your discernment and your resonance and your coherence. Yet I do find it interesting that across different cultures, across different time periods, one idea keeps repeating, that human civilizations reach moments where they must choose between control and consciousness. And that is what the warfare is all about, your frequency, your consciousness. Between systems that centralize power or societies that trust the intelligence of the human being. And maybe what we're witnessing right now isn't just political change. Maybe it's a much older system playing out again. A moment where humanity has to decide what kind of civilization it actually wants to build. The grey world or the colour world. And perhaps the real question isn't what happened in ancient civilizations. The real question might be, what are we about to create next? Here are a few seeds I'm going to plant. Water what resonates and leave what doesn't. And I'm going to go a little rogue. In past lifetimes, even if you or I or we were awake, it was always partial. Even those who believe they're fully awake, you're not. Awareness comes in fragments, dreams, intuitive flashes, synchronicities, brief shifts in perception. Your body just feels it. We could glimpse higher timelines, feel other realities, or experience subtle guidance, but the full integration into your body and nervous system wasn't available. This lifetime, many of us are fully aware at both a conscious and somatic level. We feel timelines, see patterns, and understand the machinery of control and energy. There's no I'm awake in the mind, but asleep in the body. The entire system is online. Now my second seed. What if the nervous system is a gateway? Before awakening was mostly mental or emotional. We could have visions or insights, but the body often lagged behind. Trauma, density, or past programming kept the nervous system rigid, so the body resisted full integration, full embodiment. Now the nervous system itself is the teacher and the stabilizer. This means what we sense in dreams, visions, or synchronicities directly informs our physical and energetic reality. This is why practices like grounding, nervous system regulation, and somatic embodiment feel not optional. They are literally the difference between navigating a grey or a coloured timeline. In past lifetimes, choices were more linear, constrained by density or karmic structures. Awareness of multiple coexisting realities was usually subtle and symbolic. Yet in this lifetime, we literally feel the splits. The grey timeline and the coloured one coexist. We feel them, sense their pull, and can begin to choose consciously which to inhabit. This is the splitting. As you're aware, I've seen it in my dreams. It's not about being awake or asleep labels. It's about the energetic signature of the world we align with. And another seed for you, integration versus fragmentation. Before awakenings were often disjointed. Mind knew, body resisted. Heart felt, but nervous system couldn't stabilize the experience. Now, integration is possible. Mind, heart, and body are coherently aligned. So the spiritual, emotional, and physical aspects of your being all respond as one. This alignment makes our presence itself a stabilizing force, not just for you, but for the field around you and us, and the overall collective field of the planet. This lifetime feels more intense because the collective energy is accelerating. We are in an accelerating factor. We are not awakening in isolation. We are navigating an active collapse of structures, mass shifts in consciousness, and the emergence of new potential realities. Being fully aware now means you are a participant in shaping the outcome, not just an observer. In short, past lifetimes, they're still playing out in other timelines, offered glimpses and partial awakenings. This lifetime gives full systematic awareness, mind, body, and nervous system aligned, paired with the capacity to consciously navigate timelines and co-create the energetic architecture of what comes next. The pattern of program collapse is a program collapse rarely accidental. Across history, these patterns repeat, often with the following features: overaccumulation and control. Power concentrates in the hands of a few elites or institutes. Wealth, information, and influence become centralized. This creates fragility. The system depends on a small group to maintain stability. Artificial scarcity or crisis creation, which we are currently in. Collapses are often triggered by creating or amplifying scarcity of food, money, resources, or trust. Scarcity triggers fear, submission, and the willingness to accept new control structures. Acceleration and disorientation. The system is stressed until people cannot think clearly. Confusion, panic, and fatigue make populations more malleable. And then there's the introduction of a solution, inverted commas, that preserves power. When the system breaks, the elite often presents phase 1 of the rebuild, a new structure disguised as reform but actually designed to cement the same hierarchy. This is when people are pressured to comply, often in the name of stability or safety. Yet the difference is, in this timeline, is it is in plain sight. It is being given and shown to us. And the splitting reality. At the same time, populations are emotionally and energetically divided. The grey world of compliance versus the colour world of autonomy. This is subtle, often invisible, but visible to those who have a nervous system well in coherence. Now I'm just going to dash through a couple of historical examples, and there may be some trigger points for those listening. So there was the fall of Rome, the overaccumulation. The elite families controlled vast resources, while peasants were heavily taxed and militarily exploited. Sound familiar? Scarcity and panic, inflation, famine, and plagues amplified social collapse. Sound familiar? And then the rebuild. Successors, kingdoms borrowed Roman structures, but centralized power further. The elites remained just under different banners. Sound familiar? And there was the Dutch tulip mania. The market collapsed, engineered through speculation, mass psychological manipulation. People were convinced a bubble would never burst. Wealth and panic concentrated power in the hands of a few early holders. The pattern: crisis, fear, solution, consolidation. And then, very recent for all of us, the 2008 global financial collapse. Overconcentration of financial power in too big to fall banks. Artificially inflated markets, mortgages-backed securities, derivatives. Sound familiar? Collapse triggered panic, governments, bailout institutions, power and wealth preserved at the top. Many ordinary people lost homes, jobs, and sovereignty. Elite control remained intact. And another pattern so close and so dear to us and still so fresh in our minds. COVID-19 and social economic disruption. Not a collapse in the same sense as Rome, but a stressor engineered on multiple levels: health, economy, information, created fear, accelerated digital and financial centralization, and tested global compliance. Phase 1, inverted commas, solutions included centralization of power under governments and tech, digital currency pushes, surveillance systems, many moving pieces of the long-term control architecture. And now a hidden truth for you, patterns that people don't talk about. Collapse are often predictive, not reactive. Many crises were planned decades in advance through economic modelling, political engineering, and narrative manipulation. For example, the Federal Reserve in the US was designed in 1913 to control money flow. Collapses later in 1929 and 2008 were systematic stress tests that benefited central authority. Fear is the most consistent tool. Collapses always combine scarcity with emotional manipulation, controlling populations through stress, uncertainty, and division, creating the chaos, which is what they feed off, the chaos and your fear. It's why nervous system sovereignty is critical. The system is designed to trigger fear and obedience. And once you don't feel the fear in your body, you don't give a fuck, to be honest with you. Crisis equals opportunity for structural capture. Every collapse provides a pretext for centralization of power under the guise of rescue and reconstruction. Exhibit A. This is why the first phase, rebuild, is often worse than the collapse. It cements control, not liberation. Parallel or coexisting realities. Historically, only a few people perceive alternative pathways, the color versus grey worlds. These people often become cultural or spiritual anchors, holding coherence while the majority is swept into engineered chaos. And then there's energy and information control, which is central. Collapses aren't just material, they're informational. Whoever controls narrative, data, and perception often controls compliance. The example is the censorship through media spin and selective reporting have also accompanied collapses to hide structural truths and maintain obedience. Now the question is, are you a good little boy or are you a good little girl following the compliance? I'm going to pause with a part 1 and I'm going to create a part 2 because I do want to go into and dive deeper and delve more into the Tataria, however you pronounce it, timeline, and linking it to Atlantis, because a lot of us, whether you're conscious of or not, have experienced that Atlantean timeline, and we are still currently living in that timeline. So for a lot of those light workers and star seeds and all those beautiful spiritual labels, people need to start realizing that that Atlantean timeline never ended, and there was a massive fear in that, and a lot of people hold the fear of that collapse still within their body, and that structure and that blueprint needs to be broken and the program needs to be reset. So that's why I'm going to pause for part 1 and create a part 2 where I dive a little bit deeper. I'm going deep for the storytelling, Sherpa. Thanks for being on the ride with me, and we do this together in allowing our nervous systems to know that it is safe. It is safe to acknowledge the lies, because the whole world is inverted. Everything is a lie, right? And that's why a lot of the shock in this awakening process, inverted commas, is for those who are spiritually awakened. The shock for them in remembering exactly the core truth. It's not the normies and the ones who are asleep. Excuse me, there's the truth. It's the ones who are in the performance mode of I'm awake and I know what's happening, but are too scared to remember the actual truth. So I'm going to dive deeper into part 2. Thanks, beloveds.